Just to open up our very extraordinary day, the last of the week. My name's Hysterics, and yes, I'm with Broxah today. You're an absolute giant. You are a big celebrity. There's people down there in the audience, by the way, already spotted him. We're like, yeah, Broxah, absolutely. I'm here with a world's finalist. Man, I can't even get out of gold. So next to you, I'm completely insignificant as we go to this next game.
Well, I appreciate the confidence boost at the very least. I feel pumped and ready for some casting now.
Hell yeah.
And I like one thing they mentioned in that interview.
Yeah?
They said, we want to see more aggression, we want to be proactive, play like we do in scrims, and I really hope that's what we're about to see. I want action.
You and me both. Again, we talked about Rogue and Team Heretics, and we're going to talk about something called star power here as we get into game. But first, let's open with draft, and then we can remedy on what gets these teams across the lines and we start cutting off for playoffs. Now, double jungle ban, 80 carry ban here for Rogue on the blue side. Skarner, Rumble, these are first pickables. Broxah, what else am I missing for first pickables right now that seems too good to leave?
Well, a champion that we've been seeing a lot in the jungle particularly is Ivern. Jankos has already played it one game, could be something they're looking at, either picking or banning. Outside of that, yesterday we actually saw a lot of mixed first picks. It could be the likes of a Talia perhaps, it could be a Corki, a Tristana, and right now a lot is open, so draft can really go in many different directions.
And globally as well, as we approach 14-12, I mean, you already said it, really nice hit there. The Ivern gets locked in. We've seen other things like the Kai'Sa, the Tristana started coming to EU as well. Corki's still up and available, which even though it's had some minor nerfs, people are still hitting on as well. So we just have to see the priority for Team Heretics now that they've lost that Ivern.
Yeah, really curious to see what they're going to do. Jankos will have a lot of options into the Ivern, and they could look for prior picks and other roles here, potentially something like the Talia we already spoke about. Tristana mid is always going to be really strong. Sometimes if teams don't want to end up blind picking in any role, they can just take a support, like you always say for the Nautilus or Laure. But it's up to them. Do they want to pick that counter to Ivern now, or do they have priors in other roles?
I love the support discussion because, a lot of the time we see Brom ban in response to things like the Leona, right? Maybe setting up for the red side third pick here as Varus gets locked in and taken away. It is going down the bottom side this time as quick response. I mean, Larssen back on that Azir that we know him for.
Yeah, so far no massive surprises in draft, but one thing I like from Rogue is they already have a lot of scaling with Ivern and with Azir, so bringing some power in Renekton, a lane that you can really play around and that can set you up for success in the early game is really important. Whereas on Heretics, Tristana and Varus are both aggressive picks. The question is, again, do they want to take this prior support with Varus? That does seem to be the case with Rell. Very, very strong 2v2 already. You
did give us an indication. I like it again because you're adding engage tools here to the aggression that you just labeled from Team Heretics. But now as we go forward, we need to look at what's not being taken. And no jungler here for Team Heretics so far. We're looking at Rogue. No bot lane here for Rogue as well. We're going to start labeling out what needs to get taken away from Team Heretics first.
Well, Heretics need to decide if they want to remove some of the supports or AD carries from the side of Rogue. Leona is being taken away. If they want to continue banning supporters, could be a Nautilus, perhaps an Alistar, and well, for Rogue, do you
jungle?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like you may want to consider banning some junglers, right? Because Vi is gone, Sejuani is gone, Skarner mostly played top, but even that is a jungler, and Jankos may have to dive pretty deep into his pool. The thing is, there's no actual counter to Ivern. That's why he's considered such a strong pick right now. Maokai is always a stable and strong team fighter. There's something like a Xin Zhao perhaps, but yeah, no matter what Jankos goes for, it's never going to feel that great.
I'm trying to think because, again, we've seen a lot of, Nidalee jungle priority as well, and Jankos is the OG Nidalee from EU as well. Does this pair nicely in hand? Do you need more setup? Like, I guess going up against Renekton, I got a lot of questions when such a strong pick that players deem strong, by the way, in quotation marks, is still left up open.
Well, in theory, I would absolutely love a Team Heretics Nidalee here, especially Jankos Nidalee. Perhaps we can see a couple of zoning spears and analyze those. But on a more serious note, they're going to have a lot of pressure in mid and bot lane with this, a lot of setup for the spears as well. But then at the same time, no matter if we look at Western or Eastern League, Nidalee just hasn't been showing up recently. It seems like a bit of a bait pick, and it can work, but if you do go for it, you have to play super aggressive. It's very punishing if you mess up at any point.
It's kind of crazy that we've come off an MSI finals, it's shown big, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to do that as well. And while that is the imitation, while that's what everyone's trying for, there's another pick going around at the moment as well with that torch first item. Jankos pulling up an AP jungler, so we're added a bit more scaling into the mix of Team Heretics.
Yeah, Karthus similar to Nidalee, very hard to execute, but not as punishing because, like you just mentioned, you do have the scaling element, and it's also worth noting that while Ivern will have shields and heals, like even if he goes Redemption, Moonstone, the damage from Karthus is going to be massive, and he's always going to be a high threat, not only to one target, but to every single player on Rogue in team fights.
We have Ezreal, we have Azir on the other side as well. For the side of Rogue, I mean, they've got some squishy carries here too, so it'll be about how some of those engage tools work and how we set up for the fights. Meanwhile, for Team Heretics,
yeah, the question is really how do you want to round out this team comp? You're most likely going to look for some kind of front line. They were hovering, choosing between Malphite, Sion, and Ornn as well, and I think in this case, which direction you go is not going to change things too much. With Ornn, it's a little bit extra scaling oriented. If you can get to late game, get free core items, get your Ornn upgrades in, you're going to be very, very strong. We also did see this matchup yesterday in Rogue's game then, where Finn was playing the Ornn side, and it didn't go particularly well against Adam. So we'll see now if he can destroy the Ornn.
In reverse, Finn's had a bit of a struggle in the past couple of weeks. He's been solo killed a couple of times on both sides of this matchup, but as we get into Summoner's Rift, just a reminder, as both these teams sit near the bottom of the standings, Rogue wouldn't be out with a loss here, but it would be so hard to make that playoff run. It'd be so hard considering when there are so many games left to be played for Rogue to secure themselves. For Team Heretics, a win here would do better than that. It would push them to 3 and get them out of this little rumble in this bottom side of standings. Remember, it's only G2 who is sitting at 4. Everyone else, 2 wins. Mad and Rogue sitting at 1. So, as I said on desk, middle of the standings right now are very beefy. You know, we're kind of trying to find our identity and our I guess, the strength at the end of the split.
Yeah, and I think the teams are as well. Like right now, we're looking at 2 teams that are known for being rather passive, and we spoke about it earlier, the fact that they don't have any real X-factor, aggressive player that can make things happen. It feels like everybody is kind of playing weak side, and that leads to very slow games with very little action. Now, it looks like Team Heretics is trying something new to get things started. And ultimately, not the greatest trade of all, support flash for jungle flash, but they do get some deep vision in the enemy jungle. It is 130, meaning that while Trymbi... oh, it's actually a full swap, I'm not paying attention.
No, you're okay, you're right. After the engage, so Jankos starting topside.
Yeah, so we push Ivern out of the jungle. We can see Markoon here trying to walk back in, recognizing his walls are being taken away, but ultimately it's not that great as an Ivern being in a swap situation, because at this point you have to wait about 40 seconds to pick up a camp after marking it, whereas Jankos can just quickly clear camps one after the other. I'm mostly surprised about Heretics wanting to go for the swap here with Varus and Rell, because they're so strong in the early game, and normally you can really, you know, take an advantage of the 2v2, especially versus the likes of Ezreal. That's what caught me off guard. But here, I think more than anything, it's just about getting a great start for Jankos and setting your Karthus up for success.
And you can see while Finn is matching it on the bottom side for Rogue as well, he's waiting in this brush to see if anyone's coming to collect. Anyone's looking for the wave as well. Markoon now getting that cross map that we talked about, and when we talked about him having to wait a bit, I'm curious to see what Jankos can do now at level 3, level advantage, using that timing as he's spotted out by a ward.
Yeah, so the thing is, Jankos, he cleared the full blue side. He took Raptors, but then he knows, well, I'm up against Ivern. There's no way he can clear all my camps. I'm just going to go sneak away the wolves, then move back into my top side. And with that, Jankos is already going to have a secure advantage for himself. What I was about to say earlier when the level 1 shenanigans broke out is, these teams need somebody who carries them through the early games, somebody who starts fights and who, you know, brings X-Factor, makes something happen. And one of the beauties of this swap for Heretics is that while Varus and Rell haven't been able to punish in the 2v2 yet, they have secured a jungle advantage, but also Finn with the Renekton is the one you need to look at on the side of Rogue to make things happen. And now, being unable to lane against Ornn for the start of the laning phase decreases the chances of Finn actually taking over the early game.
It's a great point, right? Because especially with Wunder, he's such a team player. I think that's the other reason we say there's no maybe overall star power, because Wunder is so great at team fighting as he was on G2. He's such a good role player, is my point. And for Team Heretics, or Heretics, got to get the Spanish translation going as well and get it out of my mind. As you said, it means that Renekton not going to get the standard lane till about now. Bot plating was significant though for Rogue, just as a side note, while the jungle advantage is starting to slide through for Jankos, who holds that level lead. There is a bit of a lead down towards bot side as Comp was able to get a bit of a plate share that gold around. We'll have to see if it means anything in the grand schemes. As, of course, it was plating for the top side in response for Team Heretics as they now go to standard lanes.
The downside of the invade for Jankos is also that his second clear is going to be a little bit awkward now. You can see Markoon moving out to his top side with Wolves.
Yep.
From spawning almost immediately because Jankos cleared him right away. Whereas right now he's in the face with no camps.
Zwyroo, what?
I mean, that is aggression.
That was aggression.
It's some kind of aggression.
And he W'd, he then flashed for it, but he didn't have ult to push him back or get the extra damage. So first blood will just go to Markoon, who I think slaps him for one.
I think this is one of those moments where now it looks a little bit foolish because it wasn't particularly close to working. But hey, he tried to go for a big play, and you gotta respect that.
I like the Broxah positive, angle as well. No point laughing when you go, well, it's his angle, isn't it? And in this early game with that early kill as well, I feel like takes a lot of pressure off Larssen. He's able to TP in. Spyro, remember, burnt his flash, and now the TP is gone as well. As Trymbi tries to roam mid to recover, it's a good moment for me to ask you, Broxah, what the setup is here. As supports try and get involved in mid and try and get their pace going.
Well, you can see that even though the dive failed, now mid lane is in a pretty tricky spot for Larssen because the wave is pushing back towards Zwyroo, and this is the timing where Jankos and Trymbi want to either put some pressure around mid by ganking him or invade the enemy jungle. One of the downsides of having Ivern here versus Karthus is that Karthus is much stronger in the early game, and with setup, they should be able to win fight. Azir just hit 6 though.
Ignited, gets a shield, but yeah, doesn't even need it, does he? Larssen just gets that range, and big whoopsie for Team Heretics through the mid lane a second time. They're punished once again.
I think generally they're having the right ideas in mind. Like Zwyroo goes confident and tries to get the solo kill on the Larssen.
There's that ult.
Pretty low.
Wait for the flip. Root caller, beautifully done. He buffers it, but still, they're going to get the range to the flash from Zoelys as well. The dredge line makes it so, and now Larssen is going to be hand-fed a second time. Finn absorbing pressure on the top side in the meanwhile, but this is a disaster early game for Team Heretics, who are now down 1,000 gold.
It's such a shame. I think
it is.
I think the timing that Heretics were looking for initially was, hey, Larssen is on a wave that's slowly pushing towards us. He's going to be overextended, so if we bring Jankos and Trymbi there soon, we'll be able to gank him. Now, they recognized that they were not able to go for the gank with Zoelys and Markoon covering, but instead of dropping it, they ended up looking for Raptors, not realizing that Larssen had an XP advantage, hit level 6, Zwyroo was unable to follow at all, Trymbi dies, Zwyroo then doesn't recognize he needs to back off, and while some of these ideas in theory are good, they're just not fully on the same page and don't recognize the windows that Rogue has. I think sometimes when you're on a pro team, it's pretty easy to get caught into what do I need to do, what plays do I want to do to win the game, and you forget about the responses coming out of the enemy team.
Remember again, this was the rookie. This was a replacement for Perks when this team didn't work together. And now as I look at that, Wunder's going to get flashed on, burns his own, but even with the breath out, he's getting ranged at, and one more auto, a Mystic Shot almost connecting. Comp can't finish the deal. Wow. Wunder's out, but the map is now burning. And Broxah Rogue is set up in this early game despite the jungle difference. We didn't even get to talk about compositions and what they do, but I can tell from what you told me in draft that Team Heretics aren't happy that the early game is going this explosive against them.
Yeah, I think from a drafting point of view, both of these teams have a fairly good scaling. Like we're gonna see the Ornn outscale the Renekton in like late game for Renekton pressures early. Both junglers scale very well, mid scales. You're gonna see scaling from both sides of bot lanes.
I like that word.
But it's worth pointing out that early game is so important for both of these teams because that's where they usually struggle, and a team like Rogue is known for being passive and not finding those aggressive moves.
True.
So if you put them in this position, where instead of being proactive, they just have to respond to your plays, they're actually in their comfort zone. This is the style they're best at, and playing a comp that scales so well into the game, that's also fairly easy to execute with the front to back, like Nautilus and Renekton going forward, Larssen and comp just sitting back and getting Ivern shielded, everybody staying alive.
True.
This is pretty much Rogue's bread and butter, and I think they're going to be pretty scary from here.
I like that you use the word reactive. It really defines what Rogue, I think, has been for the majority of this year, right? With the top lane change that's come in halfway through, with, Finn coming through, I think we've had a bit more proactivity, but I think, probably least proactive team, and not to take a stab at them, that's just how they play the game. This game, their reaction towards mid has been really good, and as you can see, now Markoon out on the map with Daisy up and available, maybe just hovering to see if anything happens in the top lane to give Finn a bit of push and a bit of comfortability, while the rest of the map is in a very comfortable position.
I think Rogue has always given me a little bit of CLG EU vibes.
Oh, really?
Very, very slow
Wow,
games,
that's a
not
throwback.
too much happening, but they're so good at just scaling and waiting for the big team fights to come around. Even when they won in summer 2022, they were amazing at this style.
True.
But the problem is, I think they just bought into it a little bit too much, got a little bit too passive over the years. But now, again, we've seen it from Larssen in the past. When he gets the advantages, he's so good at shutting down the enemy mid laner and creating something massive out of it. Azir has always been one of his well-known comfort picks, and now being up on a Tristana, 1,000 gold already. We need to keep an eye on this guy's movement. Because the thing is, anyone can get an early game advantage, but only the greatest players can take that small advantage and turn it into a lot of objectives and turrets and a bigger gold lead for that team.
I think we can agree on that this year, especially with a lot of LEC teams are going to pause because Zwyroo might be in a bit of trouble here with Markoon hovering over, but that ward gives him the information and gives Jankos the info as well to hover just in case it turns into a dive. So as Larssen continues pressuring, Zwyroo has to back away, his health bar too low, his TP looks like it is up and available now as it turns unleashed, but Rogue getting that same pressure I talked about will now be able to open Dragon, open bot side turret. Broxah, it's still just lane heaven here for this team who you said also needs this early game to thrive, and it's good to see that Rogue is still steadily pushing it along.
Yeah, and most of this is really just happening on the back of Larssen's mid pressure. The mid pressure translates into vision in the enemy jungle, and bot prio as well. Like, you can do so much, and we see it right here. Like, Heretics know they have no way of responding, and that's going to be the challenge for them. How do you stop the bleeding? When do you look for a fight?
Okay.
And when you do, it's going to have to be the right one, because we can see right now the gold just exploded to a 2k lead, which is a lot at 10 minutes into the game. Now, the question is, how does Rogue actually snowball this further? They already took bot turret really early, and we're going to see Comp and Zoelys moving directly to the top lane, wanting to take more plates. So right here, I expect Rogue to just want to, spend the next 3 minutes getting as many plates top as possible, preventing that tower from falling in the process as well. But in order to do that, they're going to need Larssen's pressure, and he's just TP'd bot lane.
He has just TP'd bot lane, so maybe onto Flakked in the 2v1 as he ult against the wall, springs him back. Flakked tries to win it out, but Markoon survives in the end. We have to see if there's a response play, because TP takes away pressure from the top, but gives another kill over to Larssen, who just picked up a Nash's Tooth. Trymbi and Jankos have now been here for 40 seconds.
Well, like we spoke about earlier, Rogue, fantastic at being reactive. We saw Comp moving towards top and Finn starting his recall, but the moment they saw the opening to kill Flakked in bot lane, Comp instead goes to mid, Finn cancels his recall, Larssen TP's down, and they get a free kill, pretty much out of nothing.
Yep.
And now, the game is going to change a little bit. They're not going to have as much time to play for plates, if they even want to put Comp in top lane to begin with. But who cares? Like, free advantage, you can't complain about that.
Magnustorm going to be popped though in the meantime. Let's see how free it really is. Ignite down on Finn, pushes him out of the fight as Jankos now moves up as well, but Daisy zone control at it. Well, Team Heretics will get their push of the wave eventually here, with also Rift Scuttle being taken by Markoon to add maybe a bit of defensive moment into the mix.
Heretics really wants to take down this top turret. They know Larssen isn't base without TP available, and they do get away with it.
Yeah.
Again, that's the downside of going for that bot play instead of looking for the macro that you aim for initially. They're gonna get the lane states right now. Comp moving top, Larssen going mid, and Finn going to the bot lane. Worth noting that Finn will have TP available, so if they go very aggressive top trying to get the tower, even the Crocodile is going to be able to join.
So let me ask you, are you still, like, despite us talking up Rogue in the early game, and I know that you use the word like how can they snowball it, and I think that's very smart to ask. Are you still chilling as Jankos? I mean, you got 100 CS, you've been able to farm. The early game, yes, a bit of a disaster through mid, but he's now got Leandries. Jankos' individual lead kind of stayed from that first jungle invade. It hasn't really dissipated, and I know Ivern's going to clear slower, but it does feel like it's a big lead that might count for something.
I think whether or not you're chilling depends on how much respect you have for Rogue.
Okay.
Because as a jungler, it's pretty easy to stay even throughout the early game, but what usually happens is if the enemy laners can take the advantage to continuously push you deep into your base onto your tier 2s, they will not only play for turrets, they're going to start taking your camps. And
True.
That Jankos might be afraid of. If eventually Larssen, Finn, and Comp start hitting his camps, it's not only Markoon you have to worry about, it's everybody fighting to take your camps. And that's Karthus. That's your biggest nightmare. If you don't get to farm, you're a very, very sad boy.
Yeah, what do you do? Spoken like a true jungler. Do you do lessons? Do you teach people? You'd be a really good teacher, I think. I know you co-stream, I know you do all that, but I feel like you'd make bank absolutely selling like Jungle 101.
Hey, might need some testing one day, but for now,
next year, guys.
For now, I hope that Rogue are going to show us how to shut down the enemy jungler.
Please.
And like you said, Jankos is very strong right now. Herald is spawning, there's 130 in Dragon, there's some big objective fights coming up, and this is going to be Heretics' moment to strike back. Rogue, with that advantage, should be able to always have pressure, should be able to set up good vision and even secure number advantages. But Heretics has control around the Herald and is looking to force recognizes, though, I think pretty smartly that, well, Rogue might be a little stronger than we anticipated. If we don't get the perfect engage, well, better just sit back and wait.
And Larssen also level 11 here with 1.5 items. He's got the Seeker's Arm Guard, so he can jump in, all in, have maybe a Niski-like moment from yesterday and set up with the team, the TP on the backside. Broxah, the setup is coming in here. This is Finn rolling in.
Finn is gonna look for the back line, looking for Zwyroo and Flakked.
Call the Forge God, True Shot Barrage does a lot. That Call the Forge God needs to hit, but it does not. Finn can't find it. Wunder flashes in. Larssen, though, still doesn't die. As he goes golden, he stops the flank, but the Karthus ult is gonna turn, burn, and not everything in between. Comp gets the range at the end, but as you look at the fight, it might be down 2 to Heretics, but it could have been a lot worse.
Honestly, that was a very respectable attempt for Heretics. They were so close to getting so much, and if Larssen dies there, not only do they get a bonus kill, that's a pretty big shot down as well, but ultimately, they get a kill, a few people die, they also got the Rift Herald, which hopefully for them, they can get more out of. But we see it right here, Finn forces the TP. I wanted you to keep your eyes on the carries. Look at Comp, look at Larssen, and whether or not they're going to be able to hit.
Yeah.
We see a great engage from Trymbi. Larssen gets engaged on immediately. Zwyroo jumps in and forces a Sonya. And that's one of the big problems for Rogue in this fight. Your Azir is a literal raid boss, but if you're not setting him up for success and if he can't consistently hit, those fights are going to be a lot closer than you would like.
I mean, as you saw as well, you said it, like Comp and Larssen starting the fight with so much damage early on too. True Shot Barrage gets a lot of value. Made it so that Rogue didn't have to worry too much. I mean, a successful fight. I said it could have been a lot worse for Team Heretics. I mean, as the TP comes in over this dragon, they don't want to give it away. The second one here will be smarted down. Rogue still commit Larssen's TP for the play, but at least Team Heretics getting a dragon might slow down the game pace, at least for now.
Yeah, from Heretics' point of view, great reads. They saw that Rogue wasn't on point and that they were very, very late to the play. From Rogue's side, it's like once you're late to the dragon, you just have to accept that. You need to give it up, because in the meantime, instead of TPing down, Larssen could have already taken top tier 1, pushed deep into tier 2, and gotten a lot more out of it.
Yep.
And sometimes you just have to, you know, like that's one of the things that are so tricky in League. If you're ahead, you don't want to give up anything, but sometimes if you give up a dragon in this particular case, you can get so much more on the other side.
Force of Mod though, Dominus going to be used. Wunder's teleported in, and that's a better teleport play. You force them off the turret. What you're saying, I mean, using soft contest, I think is something that's come up a lot in League this year. A lot of the Eastern teams do it, where soft contest, as you say, well, Larssen can find more on the top side. It's a more valuable play. Even if you're ahead, you can use the pressure, you can use your individual strength like this, play the map better. That's why I think a lot of the time, you know, the macro teams of the East play so damn well. I know Gen G are great at this. I know top esports are really good at this as well.
And that's what we need to see from Rogue. But, unfortunately, not what they're the most known for. Like, if you give Eastern teams a little finger, they're literally going to take your
every time you talk about Rogue, by the way, every time you talk about Rogue, you're just like, it's not what they're known for. You're like, you're the most friendly realist I've ever met. Everything is like, it's not what they're known for.
I just want Rogue to push this advantage to win the game. I think their fans deserve it. Like, they are in a perfect position to win the game. From Rogue's point of view, again, early game is where you usually struggle. You have a comp with a lot of scaling. Even your Renekton, who was 0-0 a while ago, got 2 kills in the last fight. Larssen on Azir. You have Ivern to peel for him. You have all the tools that you need to win the game. But right now, Heretics are playing really well from behind. This lead was 2k gold. I don't know what, 5-10 minutes ago, now it's 2.5, like there's barely any difference, and they got a dragon. They have 6 Void Groves, so if they get any opportunity to hit towers, that's also going to be very big for them.
With the Tristana as well, I might add as well, a lot of turret sieging capabilities. Mid needs to be next on the agenda for them. They've gotten deep vision coverage down this bottom side of the map as well, and you can see they're using it well to hover between this fog of war of mid, of bot. Now Trymbi as well, setting up for the potential engage, and Finn has to be careful.
Yeah, they're looking for him right now. He is fairly tanky as Renekton. Level 11, does a flash available as well. We see the Redemption dropping immediately. Larssen does not have TP available here.
Depth charge in the back line though, and even though Larssen can't join in, it might be okay for now. Rogue, Chain of Corruption spreading though, as here comes the Requiem. Only a dream for the time being. Turret still falls on down, and the crowd goes wild for that at least, but Rogue's defense couldn't come a moment too soon. As you said, Larssen caught on the sideline. Let's see if he can get a trade. Meanwhile, on the top side.
And it's happened twice now. We're seeing the experience from the veterans of Heretics coming in real handy. They notice that Larssen doesn't have tempo, but still stays top lane. The first time, they get a free dragon, forces him to TP down. This time, they see him top, he has no TP at all, so they get a tier 2 for free and almost even got a couple of kills. And Rogue are gonna have to be careful now. They need to start getting on the same page, because otherwise, Heretics' responses are gonna create serious issues for them.
It's just crazy to me that, like, you take in the global gold that Rogue have been able to get. 3 turrets, of course. First turret Blood was down in that bottom side too. They've been able to get quite a lot of it, but jungle difference is still there because there's a 60 CS lead now between Markoon and Jankos. As Baron spawns, Team Heretics hovering around the top side using Trymbi to isolate a little bit of vision. And for Rogue, while they do have a fast Baron, it seems too risky now to pull the trigger. Team Heretics are already moving with Hex Gates as well. Makes things a little bit harder to pull off a play like that.
I think we're in a pretty interesting state right now where on the one side both teams are relatively happy about scaling. I think especially if you're Heretics, knowing how far you were down in the early game and knowing you have Ornn items coming in soon, you have 2 items completed for your carries, but if you can get a third, that's absolutely fantastic. Like, if the game keeps going in the same way, Rogue's lead is going to continuously diminish further and further to the point where it really just comes down to best execution and which team can peel the best for their carries. And that's what we need to look out for. Keep your eyes on the mid laners and the AD carries. Because trust me, the team with the carries that can consistently hit, that takes fights in good zones, they're going to absolutely demolish the other one.
Well, I'm seeing 2 items for those said mid laners as well. FLICKR Blade picked up in by Zwyroo, and bottom laners, you got a lethality Varus, so it feels like he's a little bit ahead. That Mirror Mana soon to be bought, I'm sure, but regardless, comp isn't a slouch in that regard. Baron is being looked at very seriously by Rogue. Vision is blocked off by that control ward, and Team Heretics have to walk in blind at 7k, 6k, 5k. This might come down to a flipping the game for Rogue Core. The Forge God comes out, Chain of Corruption into the pit, the steal, no! Markoon gets the smite down, but look at the health bars. Larssen gets a late ulti, but the Requiem this time hurts him even more. Zoelys is just going to sacrifice his life. Well, you said it, Broxah. Look at those carries, because Rogue were just looking at the Baron, and Team Heretics were out for blood.
And that's the thing here. I am so happy about what Jankos just did. We're probably having somebody, Lil Bobby and Iron 4, wondering, but Jankos, why didn't you flash in? Why didn't you steal the Baron? Well, Grandpa Jankos was one step ahead. He's wise, he's experienced, he knows that if he doesn't tunnel in the objective, which is plays for the fight, they're gonna win. And that's what happened. We can see it right here. Baron drops low. The obvious call is for Jankos to just flash in the steal, but if he does that, he's in a pretty awkward position to play the fight, so he sits back and just hits with whoever's in front of him, channels the ult, nobody can stop him because, again, he didn't flash forward, and all of a sudden, Rogue gets the Baron, but who cares? You're all gray-screened anyways.
There's some kid at home saying, I'm the Iron 4 kid. I'm the person who's trying to climb out. Thank you, Broxah. Well, as you said, you know, it's a different type of Karthus play, I feel. You're right. It's normally the flash in, die. Okay, we use ult off death as well, but Jankos without the steal, knowing they're going to win the fight. I mean, for Team Heretics, that experience advantage you talk about comes in handy, and now that scaling as well, even though we know it's for both teams, I think gets a little bit more serious on Team Heretics' side since the Karthus still has that lead, taking Dragon by himself. Need to pause. Wunder might be in trouble, but it is an Ornn getting on out as Trymbi thinks about the engage, stops them in their track. Daisy comes out. There's a dread time for the re-engage. Change Corruptions for 3v3 for now, but with the teleport coming in, that's Larssen on the move. The range is there. He's joined on in as Comp uses his own range. Trymbi is just dead. A bit of a mistake as Team Heretics came in to save their top lane.
Bot lane.
Is it a mistake, Broxah?
Well, time will tell. At some point, they're definitely going to have to deal with Zwyroo because that's a Tristana pushing hard with 6 point drops taken.
Yeah.
And we're going to see it right here. Sure, you're going to kill on Trymbi, but I think ultimately, at the end of the day, you're not going to care if you're Heretics because you trade a kill and a tier 2 for an inhib tower and an inhib. That's going to give you a lot of pressure.
Finn looking for him. Oh, close. He gets out.
Calculated.
Very calculated. Very well done from the mid laner, I feel like, who this game we haven't talked about because of the earlier mistakes. Makes a big play, and you're right, I think definitely worth it.
Yeah, I think this is how you need to play champions like Tristana. You have to be ready to pressure your side lane. And eventually, if the rest of Heretics can buy a lot of time, this is exactly what's going to happen. Honestly, normally, you know, Trymbi stuff, it looks very questionable, and it kind of was. But he did buy time for Zwyroo. He did have the right idea.
Yep. Well, at least you're honest. I think the main thing is that for Team Heretics is they now pick up towards 3 items close to this Tristana with the BF sword, but more importantly, 3 items here for Flakked. They are ready to fight. You can see gold is dead even. 2 dragons apiece, or rather 2 and 1. Rogue picked up the earlier one. They keep taking away some of these resources. Trymbi going to use Hex Flash onto Zoelys. He dredge lines out. The crash down not going to connect. Think about a re-engage. There's great damage from Comp. Man, Ezreal's good at the moment, isn't he? True Shot Barrage onto Trymbi, and again, might have been caught out, but as they line up for the Ornn to chew him down, Comp has to run around, and Wunder zones off 3 carries, but Team Heretics' Hellfire on the side has been disrupted by Finn. Wunder flashes over the wall, and they're running as a 5-man unit, trying to poke out and dissuade the advance. They've done exactly that, but you can see Zoelys might go down, but for Team Heretics, nothing more going to be gained.
And right now, we need to see Team Heretics coming out of the map, establishing full control of the topside jungle. The bot inhib is still going to be down for more than 3 minutes. Baron is spawning in 2. Ooh. And this is what they need to get from it. That inhib needs to secure you full top prio and a Baron. Of course, they're trying really hard to get the mid-tier 1 because that's the first step in the right direction. But for now...
They like pauses. Okay, we chill out. Didn't know Fnatic was playing, but we chill out for the time being. And yeah, it looks like the game state, as you said, for Team Heretics now hinges on these next couple of minutes. You just said it. Rogue has initiated the pause, by the way, so we're going to find out exactly what that is when we get the full update. But it is a struggle. I mean, you already talked about it. You're like, it's great that Rogue got the early lead. It's really good. If they snowball, if they do something with it, well, it was a kind of like a stale mid-game, I think you'd say, or like a stale wind-up to the mid-game, where a couple of mistakes and Team Heretics really pounced and used their vision advantage that they've been accruing as well, thanks to Jankos.
Yeah, this is what it needs to feel like, playing against 4 LEC champions, 2 world finalists. They're not even doing anything super impressive from a mechanical or fighting point of view. It's just all brain. They're rotating so well around the map. They're doing so smart in terms of how to approach these team fights and set each other up for success. And it feels like, again, this is what we complimented Rogue for in the early game, being very good at being reactive, responding to the enemy team. But now, roles are changing. Rogue wasn't able to do anything with their lead to push the advantage further. Heretics now, again, with Baron spawning soon, with bot inhib already being taken, needs to show us that they can do just that.
Well, I'm hearing sounds like there could be a ready coming up soon, so we'll find out on that. A quick question in the meantime. I was posing this before. Who do you think the best EU jungle ever was? Was it you or Jankos? Who is the best EU jungle
ever?
What have you done? Do you think it's you? Who do you think was better in World Finals? Or is that still sore or not?
Oh, sorry. I don't hear you. It's lagging.
Okay, all right. Yeah, sure. Good escape.
I think the game is starting now, please, right? Get me out.
See, I asked this before. If anyone needs context, ask it before. And Eragon comes out, oh, Jankos was #1 in 2019. He was on a #1 list. Like ESPN or something, and I thought, bro, that's like the most unintentional, direct, honest sting.
You know, I trash-talked Jankos one time in my career.
Once.
And it was Worlds 2020, after I had went over the Atlantic playing for Team Liquid.
Yep.
And we had beat G2 in 1 game.
Nice.
And I'm doing this interview leading up to the second one, and I'm being asked, who's better, you or Jankos? And I go, well, me, of course. Then we proceed to get completely stomped, and I got memed on social media for the next years.
I remember.
Never again. Like, that's the learning lesson. Do not trash talk or doubt Mr. Jankos, because it's going to hunt you down real good.
Good life lessons. We're back in the game. Thank you for waiting with us. We come back and Team Heretics use a lot of power to just open up mid. The grub's being shown up. I'll get you out of it, Broxah, don't worry, but I will definitely not forget. As Rogue are now safe at their inner, but you can see Team Heretics hovering around the top side of this map. They've got 1:30 till the Baron. As you said just before we went to that fourth, Broxah, it is about what they can use with this topside pressure with the timing of bottom inhib added into the mix.
Yeah, and right now we're going to see Zwyroo moving up towards the top lane. Jankos just took his bot side, is going to group with the team, and it's all about Heretics 4-man, pushing in mid deep. A little bit trickier right now while the Azir turret is up, but it's going to timeout soon. Finn is going to try to push bot. It's going to automatically push in Heretics side, of course. And with Baron spawning in just a minute, you need to keep this vision. Ideally clear some of the wards that we see from Rogue side as well. Like, just push them in as far as possible, and the moment Baron spawns, you can burn it so fast with this team comp.
Oh yeah, you got the burn malignance there as well. I mean, all the added AP ratios, plus as you said, with the Tristana 3 items. It's big right now as they siege on 2 fronts. Zwyroo sits there, spots 2 of Rogue. You can see Team Heretics step up to the plate, try to get some fast pressure. There's the Larssen play. He tries to imitate FLICKR, but all he finds is Wunder, who gets the train off before dropping down. Turret stays standing, but Zwyroo is just like, screw it. If I'm going to die, I'm going to take the turret with me. He tries to rocket jump out. He ulties out for Finn, but he still has flash of his own. He gets a stun down, and for Zwyroo, maybe it was worth opening up that top side of the map. But in the end, Rogue punish and take down those 2 solo laners.
And once again, we see the macro from Heretics. Every single time Rogue goes for a play, they're simply one step ahead. This is one thing that was haunting Rogue yesterday as well. Every time they move forward, they forget to think about the consequences. We see Zwyroo pushing in top. The moment they go for Zwyroo, Flakked almost takes the mid tower. And every time, Heretics is one step ahead. And honestly, it's actually pretty impressive. You've got to respect them for that. Now, it is worth pointing out that Zwyroo is still down for 20 seconds, and if Rogue are desperate enough, Larssen is about to TP in, and they hit Baron. We already saw that they enjoy 50-50, so maybe it's time for a round 2.
But I mean, Larssen first has to get into the pit, and he has to TP in, as you said, but he's dealing with the bot wave. Requiem's just been burnt. Wunder's here with flash available, no train, but Rogue is throwing everything at the wall. I'm going to throw the word respect out again, but if Rogue die here, the game is over as Wunder runs in, is taking on the team. He's going to go unstoppable, but there's Larssen's ulti mixed with comps damage. True Shot Barrage as well. It's bypassing, it's turning, it's coming back onto Team Heretics. 3 members left standing there in the Baron pit after it resets, but they can go again. They've even found another. Team Heretics are walking into the jaws of the beast, and Rogue are nothing but thankful.
I don't know if to stand here complimenting Rogue or flaming Heretics right now. I'm a little bit lost, to be honest, but ultimately, very good play from Rogue. In the beginning, we saw Larssen pushing out bot, and when he was needed, he TP'd in immediately. But not only that, Zoelys on the Nautilus was able to get a lot of picks with the hooks, and they just managed to burn down 1 target at a time. Having their carries, you know, really having full freedom to hit.
Yeah.
And Heretics, they couldn't really do much in response. They were too split, too far from each other.
Very true. I mean, I'm keen to see a replay because there was no Ornn ult up and available, you know, setup limited. I feel like for Rogue, they're going to be cheering at that when the game started feeling like this, you know, this macro counterplay from Team Heretics keep hitting them in the face. You talked about with top, as we saw with bot, as we look towards mid, that one big team fight. And for Rogue now with Baron, they got 2 minutes to work this out. I mean, look, there's no Dragon up and available, Broxah. Salt points up in 4 minutes 20. We're going to see what damage Rogue can do and how they can push this gold advantage so that they get themselves closer towards a second win.
Yeah, the roles are changing once again, and now Finn actually has almost a 3,000 gold advantage of a full core item on Wunder. He's going to be very hard for them to deal with. It is worth pointing out that both carries for Team Heretics have 4 items, so if they can set them up for success, they might be able to deal some damage. Both of their flashes down, however, they're going to getting poked real hard, so they have to pull the trigger soon or their Nexus is about to explode.
But I see comps damage, I see them poking them down in the meantime, so the same point can be used for Rogue, right? Top inhibitor going to drop as well. Finn now pressuring with the minion wave and Baron coming in. Rogue moving there as a group. Comp is the one I'm really scared for. It's surprising despite Larssen starting this game with such a big lead. Zoelys caught over the wall for the time being. The poke also good from Flakked. We get the range from Larssen, they push into the base, they're looking for double inhibitor, but isn't too greedy. Trymbi goes on in, Wunder sends up an Ornn horn, but Comp only gets nicked on the side. 2 ultis, the big engage tools for Team Heretics are down, and Rogue couldn't care less.
Yeah, they're just going to continue moving from one side to the other. 2 inhibs down, bot lane is the last one left for them to take, and this is the beauty of their comp. Once they group up as a ball, we see it right in front of us. The Ivern shields and heals are so effective, it's near impossible for Heretics to put anybody low while they're just poking and one-shotting any champion or tower that's right in front of them. This is how you need to play Rogue's comp, and they're doing it really, really well.
I love again that, you know, scaling being relevant for both. We're seeing the fruition of what Rogue can do as a 5-stack. The poke's so big, and Comp on his Ezreal once again is playing with fire. He's feeling himself at almost 4 items too. So hard to get near this team that has the range. Azir, Ezreal, Team Heretics to walk in. They take half of their HP just standing
They have to engage. They have to do it right now.
What do they
it's
do?
the last chance.
I mean, Trymbi already burned the ultimate. I think it's up soon, but again, they're getting burnt down. The dredge line pulls Wunder in. He can't do anything. He's taken to the ground. Rogue have opened up triple inhibitor. The minion waves crashing through top, through mid, through bot, and Rogue on death's door to be taken away from playoffs no more. Team Heretics now sending out the Requiem, but for Jankos, it's a last stand here while Rogue crash on in. Baron's disappeared. It's made the push harder, but they're just running out of options so quickly, and all of a sudden.
Yeah, Trymbi is going to have to look for an engage right about now. You have Varus up as well.
He gets
They
one.
are hunting now.
Breath, he died. Chains of Corruption's there. They defend for now. Zwyroo thinking about the angle. We wanted a superstar from either of these teams. Team Heretics not going to give it to us, but at least they stop the push, taking down that Nautilus.
I have to say, Rogue has gone for one of the smartest strategies I've ever seen in my life to scheme.
Really?
They had an advantage, but they recognized they didn't really know how to play from a healer use it. So they're like, well, you guys don't know how to play with a lead either, so take this advantage, friends. We're gonna react once more and take the free win. And since they were in there playing from behind comfort zone, they got the Baron, they're just slowly, well, not even slowly, they're actually rapidly ending the game. And they played the long con from the very get-go. I just didn't see it before now.
Never heard an analyst come on and be like they're in their head to just let them throw.
But it's so smart.
It is smart. I mean,
it worked.
You're not wrong.
This is how we beat the Eastern teams. Just give them an advantage for free and react. It's gonna work 10 out of 10 times. We need to see it.
Okay, well, can't wait to get to Worlds for watching LEC be like, you know, Broxah said we should do this. It'll be great. Never know you can coach three teams at once, but I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a good time.
With Broxah's advice in hand, let's see how Rogue try and end this game. Again, it's come swiftly. It's come off that Baron. It's come also off that base defense. For Rogue, moments ago, they were the ones sitting near their base wondering how they could turn the game around. Team Heretics now the opposite end of the scale as Rogue push on in 3 minion waves. No Baron makes it hard, especially with so much wave clear, but Larssen's got range, Comp the same. Surely this has got to be it. I mean, Comp's damage on turrets is big. They get rooted up. Comp's still ranging them massively. They near the fountain so they can go back and reset, but as soon as they do, Rogue will try and end the game.
They're going to have to find a way to go forward soon. Like, they're running out of time. They're just getting poked more and more. And here comes the fight.
And it finally comes through, but they're blasted before it begins. Requiem comes out eventually, but at this point, it's only for a dream. Wunder yanked back in. Zoelys on the Nautilus has been clean, and Rogue played the patient game. And in Broxah's words, they waited for Team Heretics to make the mistake, with a bit of paraphrasing there, and pick up their second win when it matters most.
It's actually really unfortunate for Heretics here at the end. Like, honestly, the only win con for them at the very end of this game was for a play on Rogue to disconnect. But this isn't solo queue. They can actually just pause if that happens. It's not entirely fair. Like, how are you supposed to come back? They were just too far behind.
Very true. Ladies and gentlemen, you can vote for your key player of the game at LEC on X. Is it Finn, Larssen, or Comp? You got any thoughts on this? I feel like it's a Comp angle, honestly. He should check his PC. He was kind of hitting every shot by the end.
I want to honor the coach. Whoever came up with the reactive strategy, giving the advantage away and just playing the long con, I think was pretty smart. No, but on a serious note, I think I think I would give it to Finn. That Renekton had a lot of pressure, and I think he was doing a really good job.
Well, we've got an interview with him after the break, so let's find out if he deserves the key player of the game right after this.
Red Bull gives you wings.